I'm Luke. I'm the lead motion designer on this project, and this is Sam, the producer. So we're here to talk about a project that we did with Dow called the Original Innovator. But first, we'll have a little bit about Emperor.
Okay, so Emperor, we are an employee-owned creative comms agency, and we've been around for just shy of 30 years. It's our anniversary next year, so we've been around the block. We actually specialize in reporting, brand, sustainability, and of course, moving image, among others. So we like to say that we're thinkers, creators, and doers, but basically we hope, or we aim to help organizations tell their stories in a way that connects with people, not just ticking a corporate box, but in a way that really moves them. I think that's been pretty much a consistent theme of today. So because we've got our own moving image team in-house, with producers like me, plus directors, cinematographers, and animators, it means that the thinking and the making happen together. So there's no handovers, no 6 separate email chains, no disconnect between the big idea and what ends up on screen. So in the spirit of show, don't tell, I'm going to play you a quick video just to give you a snapshot of what we're capable of. Okay, so this project was, of course, done in collaboration with Dow. So Dow, for those of you who don't know, is one of the world's foremost materials science businesses, and their materials can be found across pretty much every industry that you can think of. So as an agency, we've worked with Dow and their European division for over 10 years now. So we've worked with them across events, marketing, and film. So the relationship there was already really strong. They always bring us great briefs. And Judy, in particular, our client who led this project, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, she always trusted us so much and really understands and gets the power of film. So we started from a place of really genuine partnership. So it wasn't just a cold brief. And we think that that really led to the success of the project. So Dow's ultimate goal really is not a small one. So they want to help move the plastics industry towards a circular economy. So they, as part of this mission, were hosting an event to rally their customers around the scale and the urgency of this challenge. So their audience is not just a general audience, it's a captive audience at an event of really senior leaders, including CEOs of some major organizations. So it's a real opportunity to really inspire and motivate them. So they knew that they wanted a moving image component of this event, so they briefed us to come up with a concept for them, just to get their audience to think a bit differently. So fundamentally, their brief to us that they wanted to create an experience that was emotionally resonant, cinematic, and immersive. So what we knew that they didn't want was a pitch or an information overload. These films were going to be played in an event where people would be sat in front of presentations all day. They wanted something to break them out of those facts and stats. They also wanted to avoid the cliches and the practical side of things, like absolutely no plastic bottles on conveyor belts in recycling centres. So we knew very clearly and very early on that we needed to stay away from that kind of territory. So really we were focusing on less facts and more feeling. So we got our heads together, we came up with a concept way back in the early days of the brief, which was more centred around sort of human ingenuity and the leaps that mankind has made throughout its history. And we were genuinely really excited about this concept, but then, of course, as happens, the brief changed and we had to kind of regroup and regather ourselves because suddenly it wasn't one film anymore, it was a film divided into 3 parts. And those 3 parts would play throughout the day and work with different sessions that were going on. These sessions were around circularity, waste management, and of course, artificial intelligence. So Luke will talk to you a little bit more about how we approach those shortly, but it did mean that we had to have a little bit of a rethink. So we looked really closely and we worked closely with Judy, our client, to sort of look at the idea of the natural world and how that would form like the theme of our films. So this was all very well and good, and everyone was really excited about the idea, but I was a little reticent because, of course, as I said, the third topic of these films was artificial intelligence, and I couldn't wrap my head around, hang on a minute, how are we going to make a series of films that feel cohesive and part of the same suite of films, and yet the third topic is artificial intelligence? It didn't really, it was worrying to me. It felt like we were going to just slightly try and force it, or like, great, 1 and 2 tick box, number 3, it will be fine. I was really concerned about that. So Luke is going to sort of talk you through how we approached it.
So yeah, like we took a step back and we had a bit of a breakthrough. So we were trying to tell the story of innovation, like human innovation. However, in doing so, we've skipped over the vast majority of innovation that's taken place on the planet Earth today. So before any human innovation, before human consciousness, life had already come up with so many of our best ideas, turning sunlight into energy, ecosystems with 0 waste, and the fundamental building blocks of life being infinitely recyclable. It's at a 3.7 billion year head start on us when it comes to solving problems and adapting to changing circumstance. The story of human innovation could be described as uncovering the abundant ingenuity that exists already in nature. So to sum it up, the natural world is the original innovator. This was our big idea. Nature is the ultimate source of inspiration for human innovation. So now we had this big idea, this creative platform to build on. We could tell these more specific stories through the lens of the natural world. So for circularity, we look to nature's endless cycles, and we show how nature once faced the same challenge that we have with plastics. So for waste management, it's seeing waste as a resource. So the natural world is so deeply interconnected. There is no difference between waste products and raw materials. I mean, plastic itself is formed from a waste product from naphtha production. And for artificial intelligence, we look to evolution. So namely, ways in which nature has evolved ways to evolve faster. So nature has evolved the human brain, human intelligence, and we are part of nature and part of its ongoing story of innovation. And right now, human intelligence all around the world is working on artificial intelligence, which may be another great leap in the evolution of evolution itself. So for this, we did a lot of research. We worked with our sustainability consultant, Sue, and that took us to carboniferous forests, to mycelium networks and the Cambrian explosion, because we wanted to ground the narrative in scientific reality, so balancing that technical complexity with creative storytelling. So it was me and Sam that worked together on the narrative. So using this lens of innovation in the natural world, we could take the audience out of their normal ways of thinking and get them to think more expansively. So for example, it's humbling to know that nature faced the same problem that we have with plastics around the time the first trees evolved. So immediately following the evolution of early tree-like plants in the Carboniferous era, there were no organisms that could efficiently break down to reclaim that energy, that carbon locked away in them. A lot of what are now coal deposits originate from this period. The carbon wasn't able to be recirculated into the ecosystem and was trapped beneath the earth and formed coal. So just like the organisms that evolved to break down wood, we're looking, as a human race, we're looking for ways to break down and recirculate plastic efficiently as well. So we wanted to root each part of the film in what we call an emotional core. It's the key emotion we want to make our audience feel, so they're invested and connected to the story. For the circularity part, we wanted them to feel connected, a part of something bigger than themselves, connected to the deep time of the natural world, to look what has persisted for eons to guide their own sustainability journey. For waste management, we wanted to surprise the audience, to help them shift perspective, to see that waste is actually a valuable resource, not something simply to be discarded. And for artificial intelligence, we wanted to create a sense of anticipation. So back in 2024, it felt like we were on the cusp of a big revolution in AI that's going to come change the world. And we wanted to tap into that sense that something big was approaching, was just around the corner. The anticipation of this awe-inspiring change was our emotional core for this part of the film. And so we opted for a restrained visual language with as few ingredients as possible. We wanted the lightest possible touch, drawing the audience into this world of the film seamlessly, trying to establish and maintain a sense of immersion. The abstracted narrative meant we could actually reinvest the budget for shooting into securing licenses for cinema quality stock footage, not normally the way it goes, and spend the time to grade that and sometimes enhance with VFX to get it to all work together in one film. With the VFX in the artificial intelligence film, we wanted to depict AI in a fresh, compelling way. So using data visualization that kind of moved organically, as blended seamlessly into a scene from the natural world. We're kind of inviting the audience to imagine how a machine intelligence might see the world, being able to parse and analyze this unfathomable flood of data. And we worked together with Dow's team to make the environment of the film would be shown in to be as immersive as possible. So we considered all the 5 senses, including the potential for essential oils in a smell-o-vision experience. But the setup in the end had a surround sound, 5-screen display with ambient LED lights programmed to complement the content on the screen. And we had wind machines. They took a lot of programming to get right, to really kind of elevate like a swooping drone shot, or to give just like a sense of subtle freshness like you're outside. We also partnered with creative audio studio Father, worked together to create and mix sort of bespoke sound design, again, to really immerse the audience in this multi-sensory experience.
Yep, so the C word. So as I mentioned earlier, we've been working with Dow for many, many years, and our account team, who are very trusted associates of Dow, were involved right from the start. So it wasn't a sort of typical workflow. We were actually shaping it together from day one. And when it came to pitching the idea, we didn't send over a script. We didn't do a storyboard. We actually shared like the first 30 seconds of the first film, because we knew that in order for it to make sense, you had to feel it, not just read it in a Word document. We didn't want it just to land cold like that. So in order to immerse our client straight away and get her reaction to the experience, not the text. So we think that approach, worked really well, and her first reaction was just, she was blown away by it, and it just gave us like the real confidence to move forward with the rest of the films and know that we were on the right track completely. So yeah, the films at the event, they landed really well. They got the reaction we were aiming for. People really responded to it. Off the back of it, we had it released publicly on LinkedIn, which wasn't an original part of the plan. So it did reach a wider audience in the end. The feedback was consistently positive. And yeah, to top it all off, as was said at the beginning, we won the grand accolade of Video of the Year at the Lens Awards, amongst others. So it was a really great honour and an incredible way to wrap up the project, really. So a few more things, and then we will show you the film, I promise.
Sure, yeah. So, so these are our kind of key takeaways from this project. So we learned to definitely spend the time to do the thinking to get yourself a big idea. So a big idea, we say, is an idea that grows more ideas. And it's a lens to look through to find unexpected ways to tell your story and engage your audience. It's a creative platform that can sustain a campaign through many iterations. And it's part of Emperor's creative process that we use to get to ideas that have substance and emotional resonance. And take the time to identify the emotion you want to instill in your audience. What do they need to feel to be able to really hear your message? Put yourself in your audience's shoes, empathize with them, inhabit their cynicism, and ask yourself, why should I care? And finally, we believe you should give the audience a gift. Attention is valuable. It's the currency we trade with in the work that we make with our audience. Instead of trying to extract it, we've tried to earn it by preemptively giving the audience a gift. Not an information overload, not a sales pitch, not a pep talk. In this case, we wanted to give DAO's people that cinematic sensory experience that respects their intelligence and piques their curiosity. And in fact, that's what we'd like to give you all here now. So here is the third and final film in the series, the culmination of the story of the original Innovator. So that's the end. And we might have some time for questions.
There we go. Any questions? I've got a quick question. It's interesting to see the way that you worked with Dow there, and the relationship obviously seems to be quite a special one. Has that influenced and changed the way that you work with other clients, and also the way that you kind of tackle and approach projects too?
Yeah, so we've kind of taken this sort of approach of really getting to that emotional core, telling a very cinematic kind of story. Our access to stock clips has kind of expanded with the kind of like tools that are now available, and the kind of relationships with stock libraries that we've had kind of through this. So yeah, we've done a kind of a similar video for Clarkson's. This was actually part of a pitch for an annual report. There was no video associated with the initial project, but we came in with a mood film that kind of struck a similar chord in terms of like really, identifying what they needed their audiences to feel, to understand what Clarkson's do. And that really helped kind of make the pitch kind of a much more kind of immersive experience for the client. And in the end, we won it and built the film off the back of that.
I think as well, just to add to that, I think we no longer dread the use of stock footage so much. I know there's been a lot of sort of talk about that today as sort of like not something you particularly love to work with, but I think this taught us that you can, if you invest the budget, you can get some incredibly beautiful cinematic stock and you would never be able to shoot. And now that we can go into that with more positive mindset, it really has opened up lots of other potential avenues of where we can take clients.
Yeah. I think having a really strong creative idea that organises the way in which you search for that material, I think helps rather than it being an afterthought or filling space.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Any other questions? No, but you're going to be around during the coffee break anyway, aren't you? Right. Because you'll all wake up with a bit of coffee and head there now. We are going to do that thing again now as we head to the last part of the day. Big round of applause. Sorry, what am I talking about? Yes, I'm so sorry.